In today's world, the term anime can no longer envelope one solid genre. There are several subgenres of anime out there that just go off into many directions that there's no physical possible way an average or even avid fan can even get into all of them. One such subgenre leads to the psychological and philosophical standpoint, rather than intense action, tear-shedding romances, or even blatant sexual innuendos that are thrown at you so fast, your head will probably spin and your nose will start to bleed. Serial Experiments Lain, but we'll call it Lain for short since that's a mouthful for me and I don't want to say the entire name of the show throughout this entire review. Anyway, back to my point. The name is exactly what it means in the title. An experiment. An experiment that delves into numerous themes such as identity, reality, death, life, and a mixture of several other topics that can be worth a discussion or two between several people. I mean, I can't say exactly that the average fan of anime would love the show per se, but I can, however, guarantee it'll get a lot of them thinking. So allow me to say the question some of you are probably thinking at this point in this review. What exactly is Serial Experiments Lain, Big Sig? Is it any good, or are you just wasting our time with a show that's from the 90s? Well, I'll answer these questions in order. Number 1, Lain is, and I don't use this term quite often, but it's a masterpiece. And question 2, whether it's good to the viewer is entirely up to them to decide, but I will say you are absolutely not wasting your time if you watch this show. So let's dive a little deeper into this show then, shall we? Lain revolves around a 14-year-old girl named, well, Lain. You see that? Just like in the title. Whatever. Who, throughout the entire time of the show, tries to learn who she is, and like most people in the world today, figure out how she fits into the grand scheme of things. With her parents constantly ignoring her, Lain becomes somewhat of a recluse and barely interacts with anybody. One day she gets an email from a classmate, but the twist is that Lain gets the email after said friend kills herself, and at this point, she begins a journey into the Wired, which, to make a long story short, is pretty much what we call the internet today, except the fact that the Wired is, well, let's just say it's completely jacked on steroids. But she makes this journey in order to find any sort of answer. This is where the metaphor into the rabbit hole becomes more than appropriate as the story gets deeper entangled in webs upon webs of mystery. Now this is the kind of show that breaks away from a lot of standard anime themes that are seen and used over and over again. There's no teen angst, drama, martial arts, gunplay, or even mystical monsters. It's a very scenery driven show, and with that you see engrossing visuals as well as animation that harmonizes this kind of storytelling, and not to mention there's tons of symbolism as well. This show does a good job of keeping the viewer as much in the dark as possible, as it makes for an interesting experience as you get various bits of information that over time will start to make sense or even less the further you watch the show. However, the aspects of this show that make it completely stand out are in fact the ones that also give it its criticism. If you don't pay close attention to almost every detail in Lain, then you pretty much ruin the chance of missing something that could make things later on in the series make a bit more sense. These characteristics are to challenge viewers to get deeper into the series and try to figure it out, while others will simply not get it whatsoever. So here's what I'm getting at, to put it simply. Don't expect this to be your easygoing, easy to understand, get right to the point anime, because that's not what you're going to get from this show exactly. I think the cool part about what makes this anime so good is the fact that much of the plot is left up to the viewer to interpret, as it may take multiple watches to really understand Lain's story a bit. Along with an interesting story, the atmosphere and animation are absolutely amazing too. Be mindful, of course, of the fact that 1998 was almost 17 years ago, so back then it wasn't that bad at all. Tons of experimental color backgrounds actually do give some scenes from Lain amazing atmospheric value. Now, this may be a stretch, but I truly feel that Serial Experiments Lain has more than enough potential to be something more than just another anime, and it clearly shows that even back when this show came out. Being towards the late 90s after Evangelion, this show was without a doubt ahead of its time. So to tie this all together, I'll end this review with this. Serial Experiments Lain is no doubt a grand experiment when it was first introduced into the US. Although many anime fans will find it either too weird or moves too slow, many others will find it immersive as well as engaging. This is right up your alley if you're into intellectual, philosophical shows, so if you need a more visceral form of entertainment, you may find Lain to be a bit boring. It's great to see this show is getting a ton of exposure in a day and age where simple anime plots seem to be a dime a dozen. Once again guys, thank you for checking out this review. It has been a hot minute since I've done one, but I always try to deliver any way that I can. If you haven't, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more updates in the future. It would mean the absolute world to me, and I would appreciate it very much. This has been your boy Big Sig, and I think I'll leave you with this in the words of Lane. Close the world and open the next. Till next time, everyone, see ya. ワイヤードはリアルワールドの上位階どうして泣くの？誰の記憶からも自分を消してしまったから？